This is an honest review of Voidtrain. Into the void, I will take you. Hey, carry on. Let's take a look. So, Voidtrain is an early access indie game based off of, well, it's heavily inspired off of Raft. So, let's just get into the settings. I think the UI is really clunky, as you're going to be able to tell a lot throughout this game. This game was definitely made for a controller, not because the controls are bad, but just navigating the UI is absolutely cancerous. It's kind of like hold Y or hold E or hold left mouse to do this, or do you want to, or hold Y to confirm settings. It's like, yes, I want to do this. You know the typical console bullshit that we're used to. And the settings they're pretty good. I mean, the graphical settings are okay, and the sound settings are okay. Everything there that you would expect, and all of the key bindings can be rebound. So everything there is great. So the story in this game, what is it about? Well, to be honest, I have no idea, and it's not because, typically when I play games, it's not because I just have a hard time caring about them. It's because I really don't know. When you start the game, you spawn in, and there's some muggers beating down the door trying to get in, and you gotta hop on the void train to sail into the void. So, and ever since then, I've played probably about, 3 to 4 hours, and I have no idea what's going on. That gets into the exploration and just the setting of the game in general. You are in the void. I mean, the name of the game is pretty spot on. You are in the abyss, and it's kind of awkward. It's very difficult to get immersed at times, just because there's just so much random shit going on, and you don't really know what's going on. There's just clutter, there's junk floating around all over the place. Sometimes you'll look around and you'll see like a giant arrow through the sky. One moment you thought, okay, you can roll with it, right? This game's kind of crazy, but then you see stuff and you're like, what is that? What is this? And so, yeah, it's all over the place. Now, exploring this game. Now, mind you, it is an early access, and I forgot to mention, the price of this game is $35. Now, the potential for exploration to be high in this game is high. The first 2 hours that I started playing and started doing the crafting and exploring as much as I could, it was I was ready to just slaughter this game. But when you get your wench, this game changes. And that's going to lead me into the progression, the actual progression of the game itself. I'm going to be comparing this to Raft a lot, because you can tell that this is obviously heavily based off of Raft, and the things that this game does, there's certain things that this game does that's better than Raft. There's other things that this game does that Raft does a lot better. For example, there's no hotbar. You can't select setting or select items to put in a hotbar where you can use your num keys or just any key that you want to quickly select items. You have to go into a separate inventory box, and then it's all there. Right now, that leads into saying the amount of space that you have for inventory is very, very limited. Now, this is a bad thing, because this is, it's a looter game. It's based off of looting, making your base, and then looting more, and then making your base, and then after you make more of your base, you go out and you loot more. Okay, so the fact that I can make a crate that typically, like in Raft, when you make a box, you've got 10 slots, I think, something like that. And this, you get 3, at least up to this. It seems like there's a tier system with the gear. So when you unlock stuff, it seems like it levels up in tier. But at least just the tier 1 crate that I have here, it's just 3 slots. Now your backpack, it has a decent amount, but it's not like, even in Raft, you can hold more in Raft. And you have the hotbar to spread the loot. So that's really a negative. Makes a big deal. The crafting itself is really annoying. I think Raft did this a lot better than this game does in certain aspects, but then sometimes the bad feels good. It's very odd. So remember in Raft, whenever you wanted to research to unlock the blueprints for your gear or just anything that you can make in the game, you put in your crafting material and then you would just hit research, and anything that used that ingredient or for that blueprint, and if that was the last blueprint or the last ingredient for that blueprint, it would just unlock the blueprint and then you were able to make it. Well, that's not the case with this game. It's in a tiered system, so it goes by stages. Right now I'm at stage 12, and I don't know if that's still the end. I don't know if that's the end of the stages or not, but what happens is you build 3 things at a time, where you research 3 items at a time, and then you have to use the same amount of resources that you would use to build it, you have to use to research it. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if the amount of loot was a bit more plentiful in the Void. There is just enough loot in the Void for you to be able to craft, but it's just enough to annoy you. Now, there are these depot stops, which are incredibly important. We're going to get to that in a second, that you can go to that have all kinds of loot that has a lot more. There's also vending machines at these depots that you can use these silver coins to get gear out of, which is really good. And then now the big loot grabber is being able to go into the Void once you get the winch and you get these little hooks. Now guys, this is really cool, and I really like this. You can make these hooks that you throw into like these floating rocks. Everything just floats. I don't know if it's liquid or if it's space. It's I don't know. You throw them into the rock and then you shoot the winch out of your arm, right? And then you're able to zip across or zip to that area, because most of the time you're tied down to your actual train itself. So that allows exploration to happen, except here's the thing. There's not really a lot of exploration that you can do. However, if you go deeper into the Void, which is identified by little fireflies, if you follow the fireflies, it'll lead you to the end of this puzzle area. Now the puzzles are really easy. It's a nice break from doing all the looting. And then at the end you get a chest. Now this comes to another problem. The chest takes up the entire fucking screen. You go to pick up the chest, and as you're zipping back to your train, it takes up the whole screen. It needs to be reduced. It's too much. It's way too much. And it's just, it breaks immersion and it breaks the enjoyment of the game. Now, the environment in the game, I know I sort of hit on this earlier, but I wasn't complete because I'm a degenerate. The environment is, it's immersive, and then it's not. You try to convince yourself that it is, and then something happens that just isn't. Now, the developers have placed a warning, sort of, or just a cautionary note at the beginning of the game, to sort of alleviate any pressure that you may have, for it being in early access. And they just want you to remember, hey, this game is in early access. Here's the problem. This could be fully released, but it's still priced at $35, right? So this is all based off of, listen, you want this for $35, you get the $35 judgment. That's the way that this works. I want to be able to explore more than just going down into the Void, deeper into the Void, do a puzzle, come back, have a whole freaking chest take up the screen on my way back. Yes, it's a small part, it's not a big part of the game, but that was one of the only time that really took me out of the game, was carrying it back, because it reminded me that it is a game and that I'm not actually there. I mean, that's bullshit. So, what this leads to, all of this, are at these depots that I was talking about earlier. Now, the enemies, they're okay, and then they're bad. Their AI is actually pretty decent. They will flank you, which is very exciting, but then it's garbage. You can run 20 feet away, and if you break sight, they don't even realize you're there until you come back in. So that's a bit shit, and that needs to be fixed. Now, the different types of enemies, the humans, they all look the same. They might have different armor. Some wear head armor, some just won't, but the colors are all the same. You have this big floating dolphin shark stingray that sort of follows you around while you're in the Void and not at a depot, which is like the shark from, Bruce from Raft. and he's just a bitch. What he does is you shoot him a few times and he flies or swims away. I don't even know. He looks like he swims, but you float, so I guess it's air, and you kill him. And like in Raft, when you would kill the shark, you knew you were getting like really good stuff. You knew you were going to get his meat, which was going to feed you like a good amount of health or a good amount of your hunger bar, and you knew you were going to get his head, which you could use to wear. Now, I'm not saying I want to wear this big dude's head, but what I'm saying is that there's not special loot for killing him. There's no reason for me to kill him except to get rid of a nuisance. Because like Bruce, if you go into the void or you go into the water, he will stalk you and he will try to take you out. Which is okay, but there's no reason for me to kill you. Which gets into the gunplay. The gun sounds really good. I only currently have the revolver, however, it does seem like you can upgrade and you can make like sniper rifles, assault rifles, I think maybe like a shotgun too. And the guns sound really good. They sound meaty, especially whenever they hit the armor on enemies. You can hear it hit the metal. It sounds really nice. Being able to create your weapons and modify your weapons from drop parts from enemies is really slick. It's really nice. It gets a little repetitive, just the game overall. The issue is, and this is my big thing, I still have yet, I'm recording right now, and I still don't know if I'm going to recommend this, so we're going to see. It's $35, and the way that the progression works, and the way that the story works, it feels like they hold content back from you until you do A, B, or C, and then you have more content allowed to you. And it just doesn't, I wish they would fix that. I wish they would fix the research table. I wish they would give you a hotbar. I wish it wouldn't feel so console-y. It feels like you're playing on a controller. Why? I have a mouse and keyboard. I do not need to hold a key. Let me have multiple windows up at the same time. Why do we have such limited inventory? Here's the thing. All of these things are very important to this game. And at $35, I'm not going to say don't buy it because the game's bad, because it's just not true. The game is very fun. The problem is, it's just not enough fun for $35. However, with it being in early access, I want you to watch. I want you to watch this game. I want to see what it does. We're going to see how it develops. And at final release, I'm going to revisit this game because I think this game has great potential to be Game of the Year. It's not incredible, but it could be a Game of the Year, and it could be one of those that blows up. Now, you cannot find this game on Steam. It's on Epic Games. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to say. Don't buy it if you're looking for something like Raft. It is like Raft, but honestly, I think you're better off just playing Raft. But if it does tingle your fancy, watch it. Keep an eye on it. See what happens to it. And see if any of the things that I've said get better. If anything I've said does get better, this game will be definitely worth buying. Probably at yeah, $35. I could see that. If everything I've said gets fixed, you know, you're able to explore more. The quality of life changes get fixed. Yeah, I think it'll be worth. But right now, it's not worth buying. So I appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one.